everyone, Julian here today. I'm going to be showing you how to make SEWERSLVT style ambient, breakcore, jungle stuff. As usual, you can get this full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, everything from this video, including all the new techniques I'm going to be showing you. It's available all at the top of the description on my website. Definitely go grab that. Don't miss out. It's a really high quality template. I'm telling you, if you guys want to know how to make this stuff, or if you just need some new inspiration, this is the thing to get. For just $5, it'll really take your tracks to the next level and give you a ton of inspiration to make the best music of your life. Link is at the top of the description. Thanks so much for the support, guys. And let's get started. Alright, so we're at 170 BPM, which is actually slower than I thought it was going to be. Like, when I started looking at some reference tracks and checking the BPMs, yeah, usually between like 160 to like 180, 175, you know? I was kind of thinking, you know, I mean, when you think breakcore, it's like 180 and up, right? But 170, you know, it gives you a pretty good groove. And the first thing we have here is this brand new thing I want to show you, which is this FM 808. So this is an 808. I've heard a lot of SEWERSLVT tracks where this is being used, and for this style in general, it's kind of like a reference to a lot of the old 90s tracks too. You know, they use a lot of 808 kicks as their bass lines. So I'll show you the notes first. It's basically, we're in the key of D sharp minor, so it's kind of like this progression in D sharp minor. But the main thing I think you can notice here is like the groove, how it's like dun dun, like that. It's almost like a trap pattern, low key. But then when you put that against all the breaks, it's literally just like 2 notes every 2 bars. Right here it's 3. But you know, because the breaks are so busy, this simple bass line that just kind of says a lot with a few notes. And also, this is kind of like the chord progression too. You know, this is going to work really well. And then for the sound, it's made with operator. So again, I was trying to recreate an 808. You could probably use an 808 sample. I would laugh, honestly, if SEWERSLVT did those tracks with just like an 808 sample. You know, like something like this. Right, like an actual just like hip-hop 808. But I wanted to show you how you can synthesize one. So basically what we're doing here is it's this like kind of complex FM sound. Right, so you can see we've got, it's just sine waves, and they're actually like pretty simple. It's mainly just the envelopes, like how this first one has that kind of, you know, long envelope, but it does disappear. It's not just like infinite sustain. And then we have a bit of FM from the second one, which is an octave down, and also detuned a little bit. I think that's a big part of getting that 808 sound, because if you listen to some of those 808s again, it's not just like a, you know, like a sine wave. It has some kind of like harmonic movement to it, and detuning in FM synthesis is a perfect way to get that. Right, so we've got that, and then there's another sine wave doing a little bit of FM, slightly detuned, and then one more at the top, which is really high. So you can hear when we add that, it just adds a little bit more like overtone. Then we're putting all of that into a low pass filter. Right, so that's obviously, you know, because if you want to get an 808 sound, you know, it needs to be pretty deep, so low passing it. But then the secret is like a tiny amount of envelope with a really long decay, because what's happening is it's not opening all the way. Like, it's not like a, like where you can really hear it, like a pluck or something like that. But it's just going to make it so the filter moves slightly, and over the course of the sound, you get like a boom, kind of like tailing off. And this is a great way to really subtly do that. Again, just a little bit of that envelope percentage. We just have a bit of pitch envelope at the end to kind of make it hit a little bit more. And then we have the drums. So these drums are crunchy, they're lo-fi, there might even be some stereo stuff happening, but this is how you get those kinds of drums. It's basically layering together breakbeats and, you know, kind of driving it to the edge of the earth, so to speak, kind of like scorching them, deep frying them, whatever you want to say, but just having like a really good ear for how to make it fit together and not like just become a mess. Because it would be easy to do something like this and kind of just end up with white noise or a bunch of phasing issues, but this fits really well in the track. You know, it all comes together really nicely with the 808 as well. It doesn't get too crunchy, and it isn't getting ducked out of the way. So we're going to talk about how to do this. So the way you do it is you basically actually want to start with a breakbeat, which I started with this one. So it's this breakbeat that I chopped up a bunch. And you can see the secret to this is quarter note chops, as well as like some of these chops where it's a quarter note, like that, what I just highlighted, plus another eighth note. So you get like a, and then you can, you know, right, you can do that all day with those kind of chops. But that's the secret, is you're basically going to chop this up, you know, get the pattern. This is a full 8-bar pattern too. Like, it's kind of deriving, I duplicated some over, but then I would change it a little bit. Like, once you make, say, 2 bars, you can just do that and then go in and just, like, you know, move a little stuff around, kind of make it a little bit more unique in the next part. And next thing you know, you'll have 8 bars or 16 bars or whatever. So you start with that. You can see I high passed it. The next thing to that was to get like a good kick and snare under it. So that's where this layer comes in. Right, and all that's doing is I listen to the chops on here. And what this is actually another breakbeat, except I'll show you. You can just hear this has a really like well-defined kick and snare. So even for the kick and snare, we're still getting those out of a breakbeat, so you get that vibe. But then what I did is you could do slice to new MIDI track over here, and then I did it on this setting, transient, so it was able to grab, you know, every kick and snare and all that. And then I just took 2 of them, and then all I'm doing is I'm just following what this is doing. And now you can hear that's going to fill out the break a lot nicer because you're still getting all of this. You're not infringing on this at all. You're just adding like a nice punch to the kick and the snare. And right, so you can see this is already pretty solid. You know, it's not too crazy just yet. We just have like the main elements down so that it can work. And then is when we get crazy with this Amen break. There's a lot of groove there. But yeah, so this is just this Amen break that I chopped up. Now, you can hear this is already starting with something that has like a good texture to it. And I think that's really important. You know, not all Amen breaks are the same. And a lot of times, you know, if you start with something like this, which is already just really dope, and then you can chop it up a bit more and really make it your own, that's going to give the best results. And I was finding, like, I tried starting this out. I just grabbed the Amen break off of, you know, the Winston Brothers, Amen Brother, the actual, or the Winstons, the actual, like, original sample, right? And I was trying to get it to sound like this, and I was just, it was not getting there. You need to take something, I really believe SEWERSLVT and these people are using breaks like that, where it does already have a good texture to it. It already has something, you know, a little bit past just like I said, like, literally grabbing Amen Brother off of the Winston's Color Him Father record, and then taking that and chopping it even more and making it their own with processing too. And it also speaks to like the idea, like I said, like, you know, really these drums sound crazy, but they're pretty smooth. It's just this is the thing that adds the craziness. And that's what I was talking about when I was saying like trying to make this, you know, clean but still super crunchy, but just like kind of reining it in so that it's not going to be such a mess. So this is just chopped, again, just like the kick and snare. I just followed the chop that I had done already on this marbles break up here. And then, so sometimes that can be a bit time consuming, but that's why you want to get fast with Ableton, so you can just do that quickly. And then what we're doing is we're high passing it, we're distorting it with drum bus, which is only at 45%, but here's without it. And with it, you can hear it does a lot for really getting that kind of texture like you want. I don't think this would sound right without it. Even if, you know, obviously, like, we could just turn that up, but it's not the same as what that saturation is doing. And then we're high passing it again to make sure there's no low end added by the drum bus, and then boosting the highs a little. And again, this creates a pretty chaotic layer, but that's going to contrast really well against the foundation that we set up, which is just solid. And then on the group, there's just a little bit of saturation. It's pretty high at 8.5 dB, but we only have the dry wet at 21%. So here's without, and with it, just a little push to kind of glue it all together and make it a little bit more chaotic. So then we have this pad. So this is super ravey, obviously. Now again, we're in the key of D sharp minor, like I was saying earlier. And so it's really just kind of like meant to, it's all just notes in that scale, really kind of creating these chords. When you make something like this, it's like, again, you start with that 808, get the foundational like progression. And then once you add a pad in there, which is essentially, like I said, just playing different notes that are in that D sharp minor scale and creating these chords. It's gonna all fit together really, really well. So, yeah, like, I mean, you can see, this first chord, for example, we've got like it's kind of like this weird play on F sharp major, right? Where we're putting this like B down below it. Here, it's actually like the same or similar chord. Again, it's literally just as simple as looking up like whatever scale you're in and just try some different notes in that scale and you'll create these pads out of that. Now, for the sound. It's made with Wavetable. What's happening here, I'll actually turn all the effects off real quick and just kind of go one by one so you can see what they're doing. So here's the synth patch. Alright, so you can see what's happening is we have these two different wavetables. One is this complex menace and one is this piano. Right, so already we're not just using basic saw waves and square waves. Wavetable synthesis can be really good for these kinds of pads because you can just get so many more unique textures when you're not just like limited to saw waves and square waves and sine and triangle, right? So we got those. There's a low pass filter and then there's a bit of an LFO on the first oscillator position, right? Moving around across the wavetable, and then this one as well has this really slow. You can see that second oscillator has like a really slow LFO on it. So you get the contrasting movement of those two oscillators, and it does a lot. Then we have a trance gate. So that's what this thing is up here. All this is it's just some white noise. And you can see it's playing this pattern where you can really hear like, the first note's really short, so you can like, right, and then we mute that, and then what you can do here is if you sidechain with the gate, it's the opposite of sidechaining with the compressor, where sidechaining with the compressor, the thing you're sidechaining to makes the sound duck out. When you sidechain with the gate, it means essentially the thing that you're sidechaining to says when this can play. So essentially we just set that, turn the return down, and then set the threshold right. And then we get this really nice trance gate. And that sounds really good against all the other rhythms that are happening too, like with the drums and the 808. It just adds so much. Right? But then we have a bit of reverb after that. So you're still getting the movement, but it's a bit more ambient and less like harsh. And then we have a high pass. Then we have this analog pad. So I'll play that with the last one so you can kind of hear what it's doing. So you can hear, this is essentially like a texture pack. Like it's just adding more musical stuff with a different sound in the higher registers. And it comes together with that other pad to create the like ambience of this track. And this is important because I think if you only have one pad or at least like one register, so to speak, and one like thing happening, you're going to be wondering why your tracks aren't as full. When I listen to these tracks, they're very full, almost too full sometimes, right? But just having this over that pad is adding so much to what's happening there musically and just really like opening it up. And all this is, it's a D sharp minor chord where I just put that top note down an octave. And then this like F sharp major chord with the minor third up an octave. Really basic chords actually, but just spreading, putting the voices at different points across the keyboard can really do a lot for that. For the sound, it's just made with analog. It's a saw wave, bandpass filter, a little bit of key tracking, and an LFO. So this has movement as well. Right, and you're getting that contrasting against the movement in the pad with those wavetables. It's like all these different movements coming together. We also have a bit of unison, some reverb, and then actually 2 high passes. Long story, but sounds good. And then the last thing we have here is this little ambient lead. So this is actually very simple. Like if you look at it musically, we're only using, how many notes are we using? We're only using 5 notes, right? You know, really simple little lead, but it just adds some nice, like, kind of little, you know, hints of notes here and there. Like little just notes popping in and out where this isn't happening as frequently as these 2 elements, right? Because then it would kind of clash. But if you just have something that kind of pops in and out like that, adding some interesting voices from the scale. Like this is the 4th. But since we're playing a D sharp minor there, that goes really well. We have a 9th, a minor 3rd, you know, a minor 7th, a 5th, 4th, 9th to minor 3rd again, 4th, and then another 5th. So you can see again, like, it's pretty simple musically, but it's just the way it interacts with that other stuff. And this is like a really nice ending too. But the sound on this one, it's wavetable. We have a sine wave, but we're using this noise unison to kind of get something more interesting out of it, right? It's not just like that same old like kind of sine wave, but the noise unison just turned all the way up. He creates something really nice, and then it's just going through a bit of reverb. That's it. You know, I think if you have really, one thing this tutorial can hopefully show you is like, the processing is not crazy at all here. Like, it's just like very good musical parts playing together with good sounds, and you'll get it. So that's going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, everything from this video is available at the top of the description on my website. You know, this really helps support me, but it's really about giving back. I want to give the community something really high quality where I put the time in to study the stuff and really figure out how it works. And now you can take my work and take it to the next level with your own tracks and really learn from it and get where you're trying to get. Thank you so much for the support, everybody. Definitely go grab that. It's the best thing you can do right now to make your best music today. Thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video.